Hi, everyone. My name is Tiff. I'm the behavior manager at the Humane Society of Western Montana. I'm also a certified professional dog trainer. Welcome to our weekly behavior spotlight. I'm sad that Meg isn't presenting today because I love watching her and her dog Volta, but I am so happy to share tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is leave it. And I'm sure all of us can agree that our dogs would do better to leave many things in life alone, such as trash on the ground, food on the table, the dog on leash across the street that doesn't want to be bothered, the person who doesn't want to be jumped on, and so on and so forth. Leave it is a widely applied skill, and we are going to work on a very simple way to build a very strong leave it behavior and cue for your dogs. I just want to emphasize that we are not going to teach leave it in the sense of curing reactivity, so to speak. Meg presented so well on reactivity last week. So if your dog is severely reactive and lunges and barks at, let's say, other dogs on leash or people, this is not the skill that you need tonight, but we are happy to help you if you just contact us. Tonight's Leave It course will cover how to train your dog to be calmer, more responsive, and less impulsive around everyday situations and relatively mild situations, such as if your dog steals food off the table, if your dog just really strains to go after that piece of garbage on the ground, things like that. It certainly can work to direct your dog's attention away from other dogs, but I just want to press strongly that this will not work in situations where your dog is completely over the top, over threshold, as we like to call it. So if you want to join in with your dog, no matter how old your dog is, your dog can join in tonight. All you need is some of their kibble and a distraction object, such as a toy or an old sock or an empty plate. I better use not to use porcelain or something that can shatter. Not that we'll be dropping plates. And your dog's leash. If you're using a leash, a fixed length leash, like a 4 to 6 foot leash, would be best. So let's get started. We don't need to start with a leash. So I'm just going to put this down for now. And the first thing we're going to start with is conditioning the leave it cue. I actually have never taught my dog this. And actually tonight's demo dog is not my puppy who is calmly in her draped crate right now. It's my adult dog, Brayburn, or Bray for short. He is a 4-year-old Dutch Shepherd. And if you think Pi is energetic, you have never met Bray, though he is very calm in the house thanks to impulse control training. But I've actually never taught him the leave it cue for reasons I can get into. And he does have excellent impulse control because there are many ways to address a behavior concern. So he doesn't go after trash and things like that. I just haven't taught him the leave it cue, but I'm so glad to show him tonight because we're kind of doing this from scratch with him as well. So the first thing we're going to do, getting back on my original track, is conditioning the cue. All I want you to do is charge the word. So you have your dog's kibble, whether it's in a bowl or in a treat pouch, and you're just going to say in your natural tone, leave it, and then give your dog a kibble or a treat. I'll say treat, but you know I mean kibble. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Notice I'm just talking naturally, right? If your natural voice is leave it, that's fine too. But I just know myself very well. I'm all about positive reinforcement training, but my voice is naturally like this. Leave it. So if I see trash on the road, I'm not going to go, leave it. I'm probably going to say, leave it. So I want to just say, leave it, and charge that word. You might be wondering, why am I doing this step when there's nothing for my dog to leave it with yet? Well, the reason is once we start adding distractions, if my dog learns that leave it means look for something rewarding from my person, which is me here, he is going to do the actual leave it behavior better. Leave it. Remember that with every problem behavior, whether it's your dog jumping up on you or running away or going for that piece of trash on the ground, it's very common for us as the human to focus on the negative, but every negative has a positive. So leave it, we might think, oh, I wish my dog would just not go for the trash on the ground. But what's the positive to that? I wish my dog would focus on me better when there's trash on the ground. Or let's say, I wish my dog wouldn't run away from the yard so much. What's the opposite of that? I wish my dog would understand the boundaries of my yard, right? So no matter what we're working on, we always focus on what behaviors we want to teach our dogs. In this case, leave it. Leave it doesn't necessarily mean look at me, but what a harmless and beneficial and easy thing to just start with, because this is just going to make leave it training easier down the line. Leave it, even if down the line my dog doesn't look at me, right? And I'll show you how that applies later on. So if you're just standing there with your dog, do this easy exercise. Leave it. Do this 5 to 10 times. We're not going to stay at this step forever. Oh, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but as always, if you have any questions along the way, please type them in the comments and I will address them as we go along. All right, so now that we've conditioned the leave it cue, we're going to present a very easy distraction situation to our dogs. So as you might imagine, in a real life application, we want our dogs to leave it when there's something they want to get that's off limits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a piece of food in each hand and just decide right now which one is the one your dog is not allowed to have. Let me make pretend it's this one. So my dog is not allowed to have this treat, but this treat is my reward and I'm going to hide it. So I'm hiding my reward and this one he's not allowed to have. I'm going to hold it in front of my dog's face and I'm going to say the cue, leave it. Now, when my dog looks away from this treat that he's not allowed to have, I'm going to praise him or mark the behavior with the word yes and give him the treat that he is allowed to have. So there are a lot of subtle steps here, which is why I'm going to explain it and do it a few times. So here's the treat he's not allowed to have. Leave it. Yes, believe it or not, I'll do a different angle, but he actually turned his eyes away from it. So the other thing is, notice when he still tried to get it, I just held it in my hand, in my fingers, and I didn't let him have it. I'm not repeating myself. I'm not, pulling it away from him, and I'm just letting him figure out, you're not going to be able to get it, even if you try a little bit. So I'm going to do it again. Here's the one he's not allowed to have, and here's the one he is allowed to have. This one's behind my back. Leave it. Yes. Okay, so he's very subtle about this. So he just did it again, but he's not going to his bed or anything. He's just turning his focus from the hand to me. Let me see if I can get a different angle on him. So he's not allowed to have this treat in my hand. Here's my eventual reward, but I'm hiding it. I'm going to present this to him in my fingers or in my fist. Leave it. Yes. So did you see how he turned his nose slightly towards me? I'm laughing because Bray is so well trained. He knows like 70 or 80 different tricks, and he's actually he's doing a nose target. So he's purposefully keeping his nose on my hand because he thinks that's what I want him to do. But he eventually did the leave it. Like I said, I've never done this with him before. Your dogs at home are probably licking your hand and pawing at your hand. And what I want you to do is ignore the behavior. Let them work through it and discover that it does not result in any rewards for them. But turning their attention away from your hand does. Okay, we're going to do it again. Not allowed to have it. So tempting him, leave it. And I should have gotten the puppy out. She would have done better than you. So now he's doing a chin target. He's putting his chin on my hand on purpose. So, he doesn't even actually care about the food, I don't think. It's all about my hand. But, in your situation, because I've taught this in basic manners class, I know what your dogs are going to do because they're not weirdos like him, is they're going to turn eventually when they realize they don't get the food, they're going to do this. And in fact, he's doing it right now. Yes. So instead of trying to go for my hand, his nose went this way. He just turned his attention away. Yep. For your dogs at home, maybe if they leave it, they actually walk away from the room or something. I mean, reward that, because in real life, let's say there was a dead squirrel on the ground and he said, leave it, and they kept walking. What a great behavior, right? So what I love about the leave it skill is there are many right answers. Even though we condition leave it as leave it and just showing them that something good happens, in real life, the something good that happens might be a treat from you, or it might just be a continuation from the walk, or it might be a pat on the head. For now, we're going to use treats because we want to be very precise in communicating to our dogs what the right behavior is. I'm going to try one more time with him. Clearly, he's not going to behave like a normal dog for this skill, but I will try one more time. So here's the food that he's not allowed to have. Here's the one he is. I'm just going to hide it. Leave it. Ignoring all of that licking. Yes. And he just backed away from it and sat. I didn't ask him to do that, but that is a great example of a correct answer, one of many correct answers. So this is such an easy, low-key game to play at home. You can sit on the couch and do it. You can just do it for a minute. You can just do 2 or 3 reps. And what this beginning game establishes is it teaches your dog that leave it means turn your attention away from something that you want, even if that thing is something as simple as a treat you hold in your hand for now. And then we're going to do different variations today that address different situations. So again, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. But hopefully your dogs at home are doing better than my little goober here today. And we're going to do another exercise regarding leave it. So for this one, you are going to need your leash. So all you're going to do is put your dog on leash. And in the previous exercise, the thing that your dog is not allowed to have was in your hand. It was a very controlled situation. There was pretty much no chance for failure unless the treat slips out of your hand, which has happened to me. But it's a very controlled situation. We're going to do another very controlled situation, but we're just going to control it in a different way. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to hold your dog on leash pretty short. You're not going to yank them. You're just going to ground yourself and your hand so that they cannot go to the thing that you're going to plant. Then you're going to take your distraction. In this case, I'm using a treat, and I'm going to throw it out of reach. So if this is 2 feet, I need to throw this, let's say 5 feet away. You're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to throw it back there. What your dog might do is they might strain in the direction of the distraction in hopes of getting it. Like we did with the exercise with the treat in your hand, simply ignore them, right? Don't let them go there, but no need to yank them back. Any behavior that doesn't succeed will gradually reduce over time. So even if your dog really, really tries to go get that, I promise, if you just calmly hold the leash firmly and wait, they are going to give up because it's not going to work. So when I throw this treat that way, I'm going to say leave it. But even if my dog strains for a little bit, I'm not going to repeat myself. And then when my dog stops straining or turns away from the thing or looks at me, anything that is opposite to focusing on this forbidden item, I'm going to be ready to say yes and reward him. All right, so a lot of little steps. So I'm going to explain this a few times. The leash is short because I don't want him to hit the end very hard or anything. I'm going to throw this. Leave it. Yes. So do you see he looked at it? He was tracking it with his eyes, and I said leave it, but he turned his attention away, so I gave him a treat. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make it a little more exciting for him. Ready? Leave it. Yes. I'm going to throw one this way this time. So I'm ready with my hand to just plant myself so he can't yank me, but I don't want to yank him either. Leave it. Yes. Now he's not even looking at it. Yes. Leave it. Yes. So that one, did you see he actually leaned into it a little bit? And all I did is I just sat here. He very quickly figured out in a millisecond that it wasn't even worth trying to go engage with that thing. And he did a really amazing leave it by focusing on me. Again, he could do a leave it by going to his bed. That's leaving the thing alone. He didn't do a leave it by going that way across the room. That is also a leave it. But he's choosing to offer me eye contact instead, which is a correct answer out of many. So if you're doing this for the first time at home with your dog, they might be trying a lot harder than my dog to get the thing on the ground. Just sit or stand calmly and wait them out. All right, I'm going to do this variation a few more times with my dog. What I expect to happen is he won't even try to go get the thing anymore. But let's just do this together for a minute or less, and then we'll move on to another variation. So I'm going to throw something tempting out of reach and Leave it. Yes. Thank you for turning your head away, and it happens to be eye contact on me. Leave it. Yes. So that took like a half a second longer. That's all right. I'm going to throw one in this direction. Leave it. Yes. I'm going to do a harder distraction. So my dog's actually more toy motivated than treat motivated. All right. Leave it. Yes. Did you guys see how much longer it took him there? And I know you can't see his face, so I'm going to try to reorient him. Leave it. Yes. Yes. All right. He's not even going to get it. Great. If there's food all over your ground right now, what you can do is give your dog a release. Oh, leave it. Yes. What a nice job. You can either go around and pick up the treats, or you can give your dog what's called a release cue. So the word free or okay, and let them go clean up your floor a little bit. I'm just going to grab this and treat. All right. Some people might say, hey, never let your dog get the thing you're asking them to leave, because in real life, you won't let them get it, which is true. But this is such a controlled situation. My dog's leave it is not going to get ruined if I let him eat the rest of his kibble on the ground. But in a real life situation, go get your kibbles, or the puppy's going to get it. In a real life situation, such as real trash on the ground or the dead squirrel that's always on the road somehow, I absolutely would not let my dog go get the thing after he successfully practices a leave it. So this variation is also very controlled. And what I love about this easy exercise is it teaches us, the handlers, a very critical skill, which is when we are working on teaching leave it to a dog for the first time, the thing they're trying to get, that distraction, needs to be far enough out of reach that they absolutely cannot succeed in getting it. It would be very unfair of me to do this to my dog, to just hold the leash here and throw the treat right in front of him, leave it. And for me, like, now I need to yank him back and stuff. And that is not a very efficient way to train a dog to leave it. So no matter how long of a leash you have, just think you need to at least double the distance of the distraction away from your dog. It's up to us to make sure our dogs cannot reach the distraction item in this beginning stage of training. All righty. So onwards we go. I don't see any questions in the comments yet. So put them in there at any time. And I'm going to show you a quick variation where the distraction is on a table. If you have a dog that steals food off the table, this is a really great one to practice. The great news is it utilizes the exact same concepts. Whatever surface you have at home, you want to have your dog on leash, and you want to hold the leash in a way where they can't reach the table even if they tried. So you can see my table edge here. I have my dog on leash. I have Bray on leash here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure there are no distractions. I'm going to make sure I have my leash oriented the way I want first. So if the table is here, I'm going to have him on leash over here, not on leash over here next to the table. This way, and I'm going to ground my hand. Watch this. If he tries to go to the table, if he tries to get to the table, he just physically can't. And I know you can't see my hand right now, but I'm just anchoring it against my knee so that even if he pulls, he just cannot get it. The camera angle is a little weird, but there is actually quite the gap between his nose and the table. In the perfect world, I actually would want to move a little farther, because remember what I said about whatever your leash length, double it. It's just in order to get this on camera for you guys, I am condensing my distance just a little bit more than what I want you to do. All right, so what I was doing is I was just grounding my hand right here so that he cannot reach the table. Now what you're gonna do is the exact same step. You're now that you're set up, you're gonna take a distraction and you're gonna put it on the table where your dog can see. It doesn't necessarily need to be dangling off the edge. You can see he wants it. Do you see his head move? Yeah. And you're gonna say, leave it. Yes, he actually turned his head to look at me instead. He could have looked at the bed, he could have looked at the wall, he could have lied down. Remember, leave it. There are many correct answers. The only incorrect answer is continued fixation on the object you're asking them to leave. So here's the distraction. Leave it. Yes, he actually already did it. Here's the distraction on the table. Leave it. Yes. Are you even going to look at it? No, you're not. He's so good. Yes. Okay. You might be wondering to yourself or ready to type in the comments, well, this is all great, but it's so controlled. What if I go to the bathroom or have guests over and there's a bowl of popcorn on the table? Isn't my dog still going to steal it? At this stage of their training, absolutely. If I was a dog, I'd steal it, especially if I have a history of stealing food off tables. But this exercise needs to be coupled with the fact that you do need to keep things off your counters during this training phase. You can do 100 reps of this, but if you still leave your empty cereal bowl on the table before you go to work, your dog is going to do well those 100 reps that you do, and then jump on the table when you're gone and lick out your cereal bowl. So management or keeping your tables clean is still very, very important. But I am going to phase in a step where we talk about a more natural setup, and hopefully that will give you tips on how to make this more successful in a natural setting down the line. This is where you start though, right? Because I know a lot of dogs who will jump up on tables shamelessly because I've seen them do it in my classroom. And even this easy setup teaches them to understand, hey, sometimes there's something I want on the table, and instead of fixating on the thing that I want on the table, I'm going to do the leave it instead. And in fact, I'm going to tilt my computer. Oh, Bray lifted his head because I'm reaching over him. But while I was talking, even though his coveted tug toy is on the table, he was just chilling on his bed at my feet. What a great behavior to practice. A dog is able to relax and do alternative behaviors like this when they don't feel so stressed about needing to get that thing that we don't want them to get, right? All right, he is doing great. So now what we're going to talk about is how do we approach a leave it situation when we are not the ones just planting the things right there, right? So we're going to start with the distraction on the table again. And let's say, let me see how I can best arrange this camera setup situation. All right, let's see. I wish I had a table right here. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this laundry basket real quick. Let's pretend this is a table, because I'm going to drape the tug toy on the, you can see he's interested, on the laundry basket. So for this part, if you're working alone, you might need to just reach a little bit. So I have my dog, what I want to do is I want to set up the distraction out of reach. So I'm going to hold my dog on a short leash and reach and hang this on the laundry basket. And you're going to be able to see it once I move Bray. So see that hanging on the laundry basket? That represents, let's say, the plate of food on your table or something like that. And now let's say that's your kitchen and your dog is on leash, and you know if the leash was off, they go and they eat that food. But we are still in a controlled situation, but we're adding a different element, which is movement with your dog. In the other examples that we practiced so far, we were stationary, the thing was moving because we set it up, right? We put the food down on the table or on the floor. Now that thing is stationary and we are moving. So here's what I want us all to do. One of the biggest mistakes is letting a dog get too close to start and then needing to pull them away, right? When I teach class, sometimes I forget to explain something, which then people don't succeed as well. But just as an example, if this book was something I don't want my dog to have, and I did a leave it where, oh, he's on it, leave it, and I pull him away, that is absolutely useless training for me, because all my dog learns is when I see something I want, I better get it as fast as I can until you pull me away. And if you know a dog that listens really well when people are home or if the leash is on, and they do the complete opposite when the leash is off or when people are gone, it's because there was too much of a reliance on this to train our dogs to do what we want them to do. It just teaches them to be sneaky, so to speak. So what we do want to do is always remember the rule of leave it, which is you never want your dog to actually be close enough to get it. We need to set our dogs up to succeed in this early stage of training. We're not going to talk about advanced leave it today, but today's exercises are to set up for future situations. I know that depth is a little hard to perceive with this live stream, but how I'm holding the leash, he physically cannot get that toy, even if he pulled that way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move in any direction past the toy where he cannot get it. So I'm going to move this way. And here's the thing I want you to look out for. When he looks at the toy, I'm going to say, leave it. So I'm going to move this way behind me along the couch. I'm going to make sure he can't reach it. I'm going to look for the moment he looks at the toy, and I'm going to be ready to say the cue. He's not going to look at it. Yes. Okay, let's try going this way. So there's that toy. Yes, you're being too good. So Bray's being too good right now, and there are many reasons for that. Leave it. Yes, so he kind of looked at it there, right? But just remember, I'm just gonna, so even if you try to get it, I gave him a release cue. Leave it. Yes, there he goes. So it's okay to let your dog strain a little bit. Just stand here. You don't need to yank them back, because if we do the setup correctly, they're going to figure out all on their own. It's not even worth trying. And they're going to offer that lovely look away or disengage on their own. Leave it. Yes. So I don't want you to do this, but I'm actually giving him a release cue. I'm messing him up a little bit because he's not going to go for that thing on his own. No, he's not going to do it. Yes. I don't want to mess him up too badly. Leave it. Yes. I don't know what he was going after there, but what a great example that you just did there. I promise he does get distracted sometimes. All right. So think about this in real life. Like, let's say that toy on the laundry basket was a dead squirrel on the ground. We don't want to walk our dogs up to trash on the ground just to practice to leave it. That's just, even in a realistic situation, when would I ever want to walk my dog up to something questionable on the ground? We want to practice moving past it, because in real life, how do we get our dogs past a distraction? We move past it. Think parallel rather than getting on top of and pulling away. All right, so that said, even though I didn't have a table to show you nicely, I'm going to do a variation where the distraction is on the ground. Even though the setup is different in terms of height, how we approach it is exactly the same. So kind of like before, you want to hold your dog's leash just short enough that they don't lunge and hit the end, because that's not very nice. I'm just going to tilt this a little bit. I'm going to throw this out of reach. Whatever this length is, I at least want to double it away from my dog. So there it is. Leave it. Yes. And then again, we're thinking about moving past distractions, not up to them. So I'm still holding the leash such that he can't ever get it, even if he tried. I'm going to be ready to say the cue when he looks at the distraction. Yes. Look at my leash. He can't leave it. Yes. What a great job. What a great job. And that was so fast. If your dog is straining, I'm just going to, don't do this, but I'm going to make him strain if he will. Free. Just wait them out, because look at what he's doing now. Leave it. Yes. Free. Leave it. Yes. And even if you say leave it and they're still straining, just give them a few seconds. I can't reiterate enough. If you just remain calm and have your dog work through the fact that they're not going to get the thing on the ground, they are going to leave it faster. If you are too quick to repeat yourself, like leave it, leave it, leave it, or if you're too quick to pull back, all you're teaching your dog is to not leave it until you pull back, or not leave it until you say it 5 times. And that's going to get you stuck a little bit down the line. Whereas there's a huge difference between letting your dog figure it out by not giving him more leash and then pulling your dog back because we are worried that they might get it. There's a huge difference in what your dog is going through mentally and what we're allowing them to process on their own. All right, thank you for the affirmation in the comments. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know. We're just going to I'm going to mention two quick things. What I showed you is the foundation of how to start off teaching Leave It in a very easy, low stress, successful way. What we just did, imagine if you had a bigger space like a driveway or something, or even a bigger space in your house, you can put a distraction on the ground and just practice passing all around it. And you can practice outside as well. When you are walking outside, like let's say we're actually walking down the street and that thing was actually a dead squirrel, leave it. Yes. Of course, we don't want to let our dogs go after things on the ground, but we can set up a leave it situation. You can walk past it just so your dog sees the distraction, do a quick leave it, reward them, and then go on your walk. Training is most successful when you apply it in natural ways like this. Of course, because we are just talking beginning phases, when we're not training, we still need to pick food off the table. We do need to pick the socks off the ground. Whatever your dog goes after, we need to remove them from the situation. All right, for the dogs that are more distractible, what you can also do is lure them past really hard distractions. So Bray is not being distracted very easily in my house, but we talked about Pez dispense before. So what you do is you have 4 to 5 little treats and you just squeeze out one at a time. Pez dispense, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What this does is it prolongs the period of reward rather than just giving them 5 like this. Now it's all gone so fast, right? So if your dog does a leave it but immediately turns back to the thing, what you can do is you can Pez dispense. So as an example, leave it, yes, and Pez dispense, and Pez dispense, and Pez dispense, and Pez dispense, and Pez dispense. And now we're past the distraction, and my dog is more likely to just keep walking and succeed. You don't need to walk backwards. I was just walking backwards just so the microphone can catch my voice. So let me try to do it in this direction now. So we are on a walk. My dog sees the distraction, sees it, leave it. Yes, and I'm going to grab a handful of treats and Pez dispense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as we walk away from the thing. What this also does is it really, really supercharges the leave it cue. I mean, your dog will learn, wow, when I do a leave it, this prolonged fun period of receiving treats comes my way, and their leave it behavior is going to become even stronger. The last thing you can do that will make all of this better, and this Bray is going to do really well at, is reward your dog for lack of interest too. So this is what Bray is displaying tonight, is he is just so good at the leave it, he won't even leave it. Good, he just did it. He won't even engage with the distraction I set forward. And a lot of times when we're walking, I see his eyes flicking at things on the ground, but he doesn't go for it. I want to show him I like that, I noticed that, and I'm going to reward him. Yes, I'm going to reward him for it so that behavior happens more. I say all the time in my classes, the only thing better than a dog that leaves it when asked is a dog that doesn't even go after the things we don't want them to go after. So we want to absolutely reward that. So let's say you get to this phase in your training where you're walking them past with a strategic leash length and you're being careful. They don't even look at it. Yes, give them a treat. You know, my dog knows there's this thing on the ground that he wants. Leave it. Oh, were you doing it? Well, yes, for looking back at me. I don't know if he looked at the thing on the ground or not. So we're walking past. He doesn't even look at it. Yes, let me reward that. And then one more time, we're just walking down the street. There's a thing on the ground. Well, yes, he did look at it there, but now he's not anymore. On his own, I absolutely want to reward that. All right. And of course, he does want the toy. Okay, so thank you so much for all the lovely words in the comments. I don't see any questions, just a lot of positivity, and we want to pass that right back to you. We love working with people. We love working with dogs, and we are so grateful to be able to offer these live streams, these training tips, and we are all about positive, fun, effective training. So if you have any questions about anything training or behavior related, whether it's leave it or another behavior challenge that you can think of, we are always here to help. So what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling up our info card just so I can share it with you and you have our contact information. I'm just going to do a share screen real quick. Here we go. So if you have any questions, send an email to behavior at myhswm.org. That email is checked pretty much 7 days a week by a certified professional dog trainer. So we will get back to you within a 24-hour period. And at least through March, we are going to be offering these free live streams. Hold on one second. All right. Yes. Someone was destroying the toy. Free live streams every Wednesday and Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Wednesday is Behavior Spotlight. This will cover a broad array of topics, anything training related. I think we did like a nose work one, leave it, reactivity. They are geared towards dogs of all ages, including puppies. And then Thursdays at 6 o'clock, I present on a puppy topic like socialization or handling and things like that. Accessible by adult dogs for sure, but targeted towards puppies 8 to 16 weeks of age. Our my lovely colleague Katie is also editing these videos and putting them on our Facebook or our YouTube channel, which is just HSWM. So you can access these live streams at any time on our Facebook page in the video section or by going to our YouTube channel. And last but not least, like I said, we are free to offer this and many services at our shelter for free. But if you are feeling generous, please feel free to make a donation, and any amount you donate will go towards the care of our shelter pets. Believe it or not, it absolutely does not go into my pocket. So if you have any questions, please reach out. We love helping people. Otherwise, thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. I hope you had fun. I hope your dog had fun too. And I hope to see you at tomorrow's live stream at 6 o'clock.